All right, welcome everyone. Today we are heading on a little trip, a virtual journey, right into the heart of a museum. We're going to head straight for one of the most amazing exhibits you can find, the treasures of ancient Egypt. So let's get this tour started. Have you ever just wished you could literally step into the past? Well, in a way, you totally can. Museums are kind of like our very own time machines. And today, we are setting the dial way, way back, thousands of years, to a civilization that still absolutely fascinates us. So here we are. Our adventure begins right here. But let's not get bogged down in the building itself. Let's think about why we're here. What makes a museum the absolute perfect place to explore a lost world like ancient Egypt? Well, it's because a museum is like a library of things, of physical history. Every single object tells a story that words in a book can only try to describe. It is one thing to read about the past, but it's something else entirely to stand right in front of an object that was held and used by someone who lived millennia ago. Okay, we're in, and you can see it right up ahead, the main attraction. We are about to come face to face with the actual objects that survived all those centuries. These things give us a direct window into the world, the beliefs, and the daily lives of the ancient Egyptians. So everything we're about to see is what's called an artifact. But let's be honest, that word sounds a little clinical, doesn't it? Let's think of them more like pieces of a giant ancient puzzle. Each one is a real, tangible link, a little fragment of a life, helping us piece together a world that's long, long gone. Now, what's so cool here is just the sheer variety. Of course, you've got the stunning gold jewelry you'd expect to see, but look closer. There's also just everyday pottery made from clay from the Nile River and practical tools like hammers and saws. This isn't just about kings and queens. It's a snapshot of their entire society, from a pharaoh's huge ambitions to a carpenter's daily grind. And of course, you just can't talk about Egypt without talking about their incredible sculptures. This wasn't just art for the sake of art. For the Egyptians, carving stone or wood was a way to make something permanent, to give a god a physical body, or to make sure a pharaoh's image would last for all of eternity. And when we say permanent, we mean on a truly massive scale. Take this number, 73. That's how many meters long the Great Sphinx of Giza is. Can you just imagine the ambition it took to carve a literal mountain into a monument? This wasn't just art. It was a statement of power over nature itself, built to inspire awe for thousands of years. Okay, now let's zoom in from that massive scale to something way more personal, their jewelry. These beautiful pieces weren't just decorations. Oh no, they were packed with meaning. They were symbols of status. They were protective amulets. And they were made from materials like gold, which the Egyptians believed was literally the skin of the gods. Just think about that for a second. Okay, so we've seen the what, the objects themselves. But now let's get into the who. Who were the people who commanded these things be made, and who were the modern-day explorers that brought them back into the light after centuries in the dark? This is the question that really drives the whole story, isn't it? These amazing artifacts didn't just pop into existence. They were ordered, they were crafted, they were carefully placed where they were meant to be, and then they were lost to time until their incredible rediscovery. And the story pretty much always starts with the pharaohs. As these powerful, almost godlike rulers, they were the ones who ordered the creation of these enormous temples and all these treasures. And a lot of it wasn't even for this life, but to make sure they had a successful journey into the next one. And this is the secret to how all these artifacts were so well preserved. They were sealed away in tombs. A tomb wasn't just a grave, it was basically a home for the afterlife, fully furnished with everything a person might need. And because of Egypt's incredibly dry climate, these hidden rooms acted as perfect little time capsules. And that brings us to the final person in our story, the archaeologist. These are the modern-day adventurers and scholars who so carefully uncover these ancient sites. They're the ones piecing together the story of the past, from all the little clues left behind in the dust. So now that we know who made these things and how we found them, let's look even closer. It's time to put on our art critic hats for a minute and decode the unique visual language that makes Egyptian art so Egyptian. You know it the second you see it. Art usually plays between two different styles. On one side, you've got realism, which tries to capture what something really looks like. And on the other, you have abstraction, which uses symbols and ideas. What's so brilliant is that Egyptian artists were masters of both. They'd use a realistic portrait to preserve a queen's identity, but then an abstract hieroglyph to get across a sacred idea. So what are the key ingredients that make up this style? Well, you'll almost always see these perfect, orderly geometric patterns. You'll see the flash of gold, which symbolized eternity, and you'll see these incredibly detailed portraits. They all come together to create a style that feels both totally timeless and profoundly human. So how did they make flat paintings feel so alive, so three-dimensional? A lot of it came down to a clever technique like shading. An artist would start with light lines and then gradually build up layers of darkness to create shadows. And with that, a figure painted on a tomb wall could feel solid and real, giving them a real form for the afterlife. Now, these geometric patterns are another key feature, but they were way more than just decoration. To the Egyptians, these repeating, orderly shapes represented Ma'at, this core idea of cosmic order, truth, and balance. So by putting these patterns everywhere, they were reinforcing that divine order in everything they made. So as we get ready to leave our virtual museum, let's just stop and think about the big picture here. It's amazing to see all these objects, but why does it actually matter? Why do we spend so much time studying these ancient cultures? You know, this quote from the source material just hits the nail on the head. Seeing an actual object, it creates a connection that a textbook just never can. It makes time feel like it's collapsed, and it makes the past feel real, something you can almost touch. History is so much more than just a bunch of old stories. In the lives of the people who came before us, we find amazing role models, and we also find cautionary tales about mistakes we should probably try to avoid. And by understanding their world, we can actually see the deep, ancient roots of our own ideas and traditions. And really, that's the main takeaway. We study the past to help us better navigate our present. Every single artifact in that museum is a lesson waiting to be learned, a story that's just waiting to be heard. So I'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. If an archaeologist, thousands of years from now, could unearth just one single artifact from your life, what would you want it to be? And what story would you want it to tell them about our time?